the kind of wear a tie. Button up from 9 to 5. I tried that life but said goodbye. I'm not always polite, but I get the job done. Who says that work can never be fun? I'm simply unprofessional. Simply unprofessional. Yeah. Yeah. Unprofessional.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Simply Unprofessional. I'm your host, Webby. Joining me tonight, we got Rob.
Hey, everybody, it's Rob.
And we got Donnie.
Can't prove it.
Well, that's true. Can't. So tonight, Rob, you had mentioned a while back, but we wanted to wait for Donnie because I know Donnie's been getting more into Overwatch recently. We were going to do kind of it's been a while since we've talked about Overwatch. In fact, I don't necessarily know that we've even talked much about Overwatch 2.
I don't think we've talked at all about Overwatch 2.
But I figure we could go over some of the new characters that have come out and some of the changes that they've made to some of the characters, which I know you would know more about than me. So much like our original Overwatch episode, where I believe that one was Devin, who was really big into Overwatch at the time, doing most of the talking, I'm probably going to rely on you on at least some of the changes that have been made to some of the characters, because I don't know them all by heart. But first, I do have something I have some explain plots badly things that I wanted to run by you guys and see if you guys could get.
Okay.
Just because I was looking them up earlier for no reason. Some of these we've probably already heard, especially Rob, because I know he's helmed a few episodes regarding these, so he's probably had to go through a lot of these before. A young man forcibly binds other men and photographs them for money.
Yeah, I know what that one is.
Nope.
Go ahead, Rob.
Spider-Man.
Sure is Spider-Man.
Oh my god.
A group spends 9 hours returning jewelry.
I know what that one is too.
Lord of the Rings? No,
Yep.
that's way more than 9 hours.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the movies.
Lord of the Rings trilogy. Everyone tries the ice bucket challenge.
I know that one too.
Jesus, Rob.
Like you said, I had to look up a bunch for the ones we did. I actually used the Spider-Man one.
Donnie, do you know this one?
I don't think so.
Go ahead, Rob.
Titanic.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Drug-addicted girl takes advantage of mentally challenged boy for 3 decades.
I know that
I don't
one
know
too.
this one.
Go ahead, Donnie.
Forrest Gump.
Sure is. Talking frog convinces son to kill his dad.
I didn't know that one, but I figured it out.
Nope.
This is Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh god.
People drink coffee for 10 years.
No.
Oh, is it Friends?
Yep.
What the hell?
They're always in that damn coffee shop. I'll do one more. Oh, Well, okay. Man-child learns to be an adult.
That could be a lot of things. Anything by freaking Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler? Yeah.
It is literally a list of Adam Sandler movies. It is a
Okay.
picture of just there's little Nicky, anger management, the wedding
I was
singer,
thinking
Big
Big
Daddy.
Daddy.
Yep.
Billy Madison.
Billy Madison, 51st Dates, Grown Ups, Grown Ups 2, Mr. Deeds, you name it. They're all in there.
Mhm.
Airheads, which was a great movie, by the way. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much all of the ones that I got for you. Oh, okay, I got one. This is the last one. Public transportation running ahead of schedule for once.
I know what that one is.
God damn it, Rob.
Hey, you had two I didn't know. I just figured them out.
Speed.
It is Speed.
Yeah.
Good times. All right, so let's dive into Overwatch here. Let's see. Off the bat, I'm going to start off by saying that the newest addition to Overwatch currently is a support hero by the name of Lifeweaver. Donnie, have you played him at all yet?
I have not played him, but I have a good amount of time playing with him. It's all anybody wants to play right now.
Yeah. So I'm going to go through his skills, and we'll talk a little bit about him. I know that they ended up changing some of his toolkit around or stats or something recently, Rob.
Yeah, I also wanted to talk about like all the new Overwatch 2 characters and like their like who they are and what they are and like the lore basically.
Yeah, we'll do that as soon as this is Lifeweaver's the only one that I really wanted to talk about because he's one that I got to play around with a little bit, and I know there's some not necessarily controversy, but there's some differing opinions on whether or not he's actually a good healer or not.
Yeah. Well, yes, they changed him recently. They made it so that he has different buttons because people were like the flow of him was like awful. Changing between the healing and the damage was like really annoying and difficult.
Right.
And then they increased his healing a little bit.
Okay. Well, I know. Well, so I don't know the buttons then, since they've changed the buttons around. But his main healing ability is called Healing Blossom. It's a charge ability, and then it kind of has some semblance of like a homing missile. Like you can't just shoot it up into the air and it'll fly down at a hurt ally. But
it's like the Needler from Halo.
No, that's his other one.
No, that's his hurt.
But it's
okay.
It's one of those things where it's like as long as you're aiming kind of in the vicinity of your target, it will kind of swoop down and hit who you're trying to heal.
Yeah. It is unfortunately blocked by shields, but you can angle it kind of up and over shields if you can.
Right.
It's one of the. There's a couple healings that are blocked by shields, but then that's one of them. I don't understand why that one is blocked by shields. The reason they make Anna's blocked by shields is because Anna's does damage, so that way because they can't make it go through shields, because then the damage aspect of it would go through shields. I don't know why they don't let Healing Blossom go through shields. It's kind of odd.
I don't know. His damaging one that Donnie was just talking about, because it's kind of like the Needler from Halo, is called Thorn Volley. So how do you switch between the two now?
You don't.
It's just alternate fire now. Is your thorns?
Oh, it's just left click for your heal, right click for your thorns.
Huh.
All right. I mean, I didn't see that there was a big issue with switching using the mouse wheel.
I kept trying to use this. I kept throwing down the stupid pedal pad when I meant to be shooting.
Oh,
it sounds like a good change for the fun, though.
Yeah,
the flow.
I get it. I just feel like it's the same way Mercy works. You're switching between Mercy, your staff and the gun.
The reason why it's different is because Mercy's not meant to be shooting her gun. She's mostly meant to be either damage boosting or healing, whereas with Lifeweaver, you kind of have to do both. Like you need to keep switching back and forth really rapidly for him.
Another ability he has is the pedal platform. He does throw down this thing where it makes it look like a giant flower sort of thing. And then anyone who steps on it after, I think, a very short delay, it will go up into the air and cause yourself a lifting platform. The platform itself does have a health pool, I believe.
Yes.
So it can be destroyed.
Unless it's
I have
destroyed
an opinion on this one too.
Unless it's destroyed or put down, it stays on the ground forever.
Gotcha.
It's when it's in the air. There's a
timer, right?
There's a timer, yeah. But when it's on the ground, it'll stay there forever unless you reapply it somewhere else or someone steps on it.
Gotcha. He has a rejuvenating dash, so he has like a very short little dash forward that he'll do that will be kind of a very small self-heal to himself.
Yeah. It's shift now for the pedal pad, by the way, because it used to be alternate fire. And then the lunge is double jump. If you press spacebar twice, he'll do the lunge now.
Gotcha. He has life grip, which can only be used on allies, and essentially it's for anybody who has ever played clerics or priests in WoW. It's a lot like one of those abilities where you literally you throw an orb at your ally and it magnetizes and pulls them towards you. I still feel like I do feel like this is a very useful skill, but I just feel like it's gonna cause a lot of people can be trolls real easily with that skill. And then his ultimate is called the Tree of Life. He essentially just places down this large tree that just does a significant amount of healing, I would say, in a pretty large area. The tree itself also has a life bar, so if targeted by the enemy team, they can essentially destroy the tree to stop the healing from it.
You can also use it for cover because people can't shoot through it.
Right.
Still hit it. But they up the amount of life that the tree has before it is destroyed, and they up the amount of healing it does.
Oh, all right.
Because it used to be 50 per pulse, now it's 75 per pulse.
I mean, I thought it did pretty good healing even the first time around, but now, I mean, being an alt, I feel like that was the right call, making it heal for a little bit more. Now, I haven't played him since they made the changes, because I actually haven't been able to be support. Does he is it? Do you know if it still takes him a little while to get his alt? Like when I was playing him, I felt like I was not getting my alt very fast in comparison to the rest of the team.
I mean, I don't think they changed his damage other than it being able to basically be faster because it's alternate fire.
Right.
So in that sense, you might get it a little faster, but they didn't change any way of it charging faster or.
Gotcha.
I don't think his regular healing or his damage was changed, so it would be the same.
Gotcha. Well, so now that we've talked about Life Weaver, I'm gonna turn it over to you so you can talk about some of the new heroes and their lore and stuff. But before we do, because Donnie, you have been getting more into Overwatch. First, what's your favorite role to play?
Probably DPS at this point.
Okay, and who are your go-to heroes? Like if you queued for all of them and say you got tank, who's your go-to tank?
Sigma 100% on tanks.
Okay, who's your go-to DPS?
Rob, what would you say? I switch a lot.
I'd say it's your top three are Pharah, Bastion, and Soldier.
Yeah.
Okay. I tend to switch to Bastion. Whenever I'm DPS, I'll switch to Bastion if I feel like the other, either if we're falling behind, I'll be that guy that switches to Bastion to try to, push back. Or if I feel like the enemy team comp is quote-unquote cheeky to begin with, and, they're running, two snipers or, a Symmetra and a Torb for their turrets and stuff, then Bastion's my go-to, fuck you character.
Yeah. I kind of open with Pharah because there's a lot of the time you'll find that teams just don't know how to counter a Pharah.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do run into that really good sniper or soldier that's just taking you out every time, that's when I'll start off with soldier, and if it gets desperate, I'll go to Bastion.
Yeah.
I don't have any pride when it comes to switching to Bastion to win.
And I take it your go-to healer is still Moira.
Yeah, I'm liking Mercy a lot more.
All right.
Me and Rob did the little jump puzzle thing that they had, and since I learned how to use, I like her. I don't use her often. Moira is definitely my main, and I like Kiriko.
Yeah, there was a Mercy like flying puzzle. You had to like figure out how to fly around and get places without touching the ground. And yeah, we learned how to fly and maneuver with her really well. But then we quit because it was getting really frustrating at the end.
Yeah, we were cheating too. Like we were cheating with each other and still having trouble.
Jeez. Now, Rob, same questions for you. If you were queued for all and you were forced to be a tank, who's your go-to tank?
Diva usually. Sometimes I'll do Reinhardt now.
Yep.
But usually Diva.
Okay. What about DPS?
DPS I usually do I do Symmetra on defense and I do Mei on offense. And then sometimes it depends on the map because if it's like a contested point, sometimes I'll use Symmetra, but if it's like push, I'll usually use Mei. But it's usually those two. Sometimes I'll do Junkrat. Like Junkrat's my fuck you, I'm just gonna blow shit up. Like Donnie's a Bastion.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then your support, is it still Brigitte?
Yeah, Brigitte and Mercy and Moira, but mostly Brigitte.
Right.
Torbjorn's up there for me too. It's like a close like fourth.
Yeah.
I like playing him with Symmetra on defense. I know it's cheesy. I don't care. I like to win.
Yep. All right, there's nothing wrong with that. All right, so I'm going to hand this over to Rob now. If you want to go through some of the newer heroes and some of their lore like you wanted to.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was going to do, like, if we wanted to talk about the new heroes' abilities like we did with Lifeweaver, and then we could go into the story of how they fit in to the rest of the... But that's up to you guys. But we'll start with Lifeweaver since we were talking about Lifeweaver. So Lifeweaver, he is a scientist, or was a scientist. He uses hard light technology like Symmetra. He and Symmetra used to be roommates. And they used to work for the same company, which is Vishkar. But he left because Vishkar is too greedy, and he decided that he wanted to try and change the world. So he's mixed the hard light technology with basically bio and plants, and he calls it BioLight. So it's basically the same kind of stuff that Symmetra creates, but his is mixed with like plants, which is why he's the whole like blossoming with thorns and flowers and petals and all that. So it's all like basically creating life with the hard light technology rather than just sterile items like Symmetra does.
Okay. So I'm assuming that means he's a good guy, technically?
Technically?
Symmetra's a Overwatch. Like, she's Overwatch, not Talon, right?
Symmetra is neither. Symmetra is not Overwatch or Talon. She works for Vishkar, which is like a third party, basically.
Oh.
But she kind of leans towards good because she and Zenyatta had there was a comic book with the two of them, and the Vishkar damaged the Mabani temple, and so Symmetra went to like appease them and make it fix it with PR stuff, but then she talked a lot with Zenyatta and ended up like really liking his culture and stuff, and decided that Vishkar was in the wrong and was trying to make it right. But you don't really find out, like, other than that, you don't really find out if she left Vishkar or whatever. But she is more like a good guy than a bad guy. But
gotcha.
She technically has no affiliation to either Talon or Overwatch.
All right. Who's next on the chopping block then?
So we'll go with the first Overwatch 2 hero, which is Sojourns. Now, Sojourn was a commander in the original Overwatch before it was shut down. She was second in command after Soldier 76. She is mostly cybernetic. She is a cyborg, most of her body has been replaced with cybernetics. But she's a lot like Soldier in that she has like a machine gun that's her basic firing, and then as she shoots stuff with her regular rifle, it powers up her railgun. So when her railgun is powered, she can fire that, and it does like instant kill damage, pretty much like Widowmaker. It used to kill it immediately, like it used to be one headshot and you were dead, just like Widowmaker. They nerfed it a little bit so that it only almost kills you, but if you're like damaged at all and it hits you, you're dead. But they made it so that if you're full health, it won't kill you right out unless you're being mercy boosted. If Sojourn's being mercy boosted, it'll still kill you right. But they felt she was too overpowered and oppressive because she had like the mobility and stuff, and she could get up close and fight and then kill you like Widow can without any of Widow's weaknesses. So then she has a thing she shoots on the ground. I forget what it's called. Let me here. So. It's called Disruptor Shot. So with her E ability is she throws a shot on the ground that basically damages anyone that's in it. It used to also slow you down, but they decided that was too easy for her to then headshot you, so they have taken out the slow ability. It only now just damages people. And then her ultimate, or she has a power slide where if you press shift, she slides along the ground. Like her legs turn into rockets for a short time, basically, and she can like slide on the ground and then jump really high. And then her ultimate is called Overclock, where she gets the railgun automatically. She can just keep firing the railgun again and again and again for a short time.
Yeah, I don't know. A good Sojourn. That's the thing with a lot of Overwatch heroes too. Is like, if you go against one that's really good with that particular class or that particular hero, that hero becomes such a pain in the ass. Like, you can literally say that about almost any of them. Like, a really good Tracer. Like, I wish I was...
really good Tracer is one of the most annoying ones to go up against.
And I really wish I was good with Tracer. She is one of my... Ever since Overwatch, before Overwatch even came out, when they just had trailers and stuff, Tracer was one of my favorites. I loved everything about her. I'm absolute garbage at playing her. And yeah, you go up against a good Tracer, and it's memorable. It's like, wow, okay, don't know really what to do here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then the more you think about it, you could say that literally for almost all the other heroes too. But yeah, like Genji, that's another one. Just God, he's just constantly in your face, and there's really nothing you can do about it if they're really good. So, is that pretty much the only history with Sojourn? Is just the fact that she was a commander in Overwatch, just under Soldier?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all they have of her so far. Was in Overwatch 1, not as a playable character, but if you ever played, I believe the Havana map with the PvE, I forget what it was called. But she's the one that's giving you commands.
Gotcha.
That tells you to wait for them to open the door and stuff like that. So that's Sojourn giving you the commands there.
Gotcha. All right.
Who's
next?
Next is and I wanted to, since we were on the DPS, I should have said with the healers too. Overwatch 2 gave every character a passive ability that goes with their role. So for DPS, the passive ability that they have now, it used to be increased speed. They used to run like 30% faster than all the other characters, but they decided that was too OP because they could get places super fast, and the healers couldn't get away, or support couldn't get away, and stuff like that. So they changed it now, where if you make an elimination as a hero, you get quicker reload speed for a short time. And then the tanks, their passive is knockback reduction. So like things that knock you back, like Lucio's Boo, Brigitte's Flail Shot, Farah's concussive grenades and stuff like that, tanks are not pushed back as far as other characters are. So they're not as easy to like push off cliffs and stuff like that.
Do you think that that's a noticeable difference? Because I always feel like I'm booped pretty far when anytime Lucio's involved.
Oh yeah, like they've showed it like the difference on screen before.
Huh. All right. And then healers, they have a passive heal, right? Something like that.
Yeah, they heal for a certain amount if they're not taking damage after a short amount of time. They start to heal themselves.
Yeah.
Now, Mercy used to have that all the time, but now hers is like extra. Like she heals extra. So the next one is Junker Queen. So Junker Queen is a tank.
Now, okay, I will say Junker Queen, also a very fun character that I liked in concept, but I'm not good at her.
So Junker Queen is the leader of Junker Town. She took over after her family was ejected from Junker Town and made to wander the desert. So she came back and she took over from the king that was in charge with a big fight. There's actually a cinematic you can watch on this. So now she rules Junker Town, which is the town where Junkrat and Roadhog come from. Also, she was also in Overwatch 1 as a non-playable character. She would voice, if you went to Junker Town, she would say, the only place for Omnics in Junker Town is on the scrap heap, or she'd yell at Junkrat for coming back to Junker Town in Overwatch 1 when the doors opened. Like she was the one that made those voice lines. But yeah, so she's in charge of Junker Town because she came back because her family was unfairly exiled to the desert, because in Overwatch lore, Australia is a freaking wasteland because they blew up the Omnic I forget what they're called, but there's like these giant, basically assembly buildings
like
that
production plants.
Yeah. So when there was a war with the Omnics, like basically people were taking them out, and the Australians blew theirs up and caused basically nuclear wasteland in the center of Australia. So, but that's where she and Junkrat and Roadhog hail from. So her abilities, her primary fire is a shotgun. Oh, no. Why did it change me back to Sojourn? Junker Queen. She has a pump action shotgun that is her primary fire. Her alternate fire is a dagger, which she throws. I know she has a name for it.
That's not a knife. This is a knife. Isn't it Lucille? Not Lucille. It's Gracie.
Yeah, her axe is Lucille. That's right. So her alternate fire, she throws Gracie, which is a knife. It throws it sticks to whatever she hits. So if like you hit a surface, it'll stick there. If you hit a person, it'll stick into them. And then she can call it to her. So it pulls the person to her. Or if it's in the ground and somebody walks in between her and the knife, she can do the same thing. Call it back and like pull that person to her. And it puts wounds on people. So the more wounds she has on people she's fighting, they actually heal her as she's fighting. And then her axe is called Lucille, and it does the same thing. She swings it at people, and if she puts wounds on them with the axe, it heals her over time. That's her E ability, is swinging the axe, and that will hit everybody that's in front of her if they're close enough. And then her shift ability is called Commanding Shout. So she yells, and everyone around her gets a short burst of speed and temporary health. And then her ultimate is called Rampage, where she charges forward, swinging her axe in a circle, and everyone she damages is basically anti-naded like Anna's anti-nade, where they're not able to be healed for a short time.
Yep.
It also wounds everyone she hits, so it heals her as well as she does it.
I don't know. She's one of those tanks where it's like I've played up against a couple of people who play her well, and whether it's because of her or even like a healer that's with her, they just seem unkillable. And then like I'll switch to playing her, and I just can't stay alive. I'm just every time I go out there, I'm just dead. It's like, geez, I don't understand. But I think she would probably be one of my favorite tanks, uh, aesthetically, I guess, and like personality wise.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, I like her with her legendary skin. When you hit people with the knife, they also get struck by lightning because she's dressed as Zeus.
Yeah. All right, who's next on the chopping block?
All right. So next will be Kiriko.
There you go, Donnie. Somebody that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
So Kiriko is she's basically like Hanzo and Genji consider her their little sister, even though she's not. I think she's their cousin. I'm not 100% sure about that. I just know that they treat her like a little sister. And she lives by herself in an apartment, so I'm assuming she's at least 18. But she acts like all her voice lines sound like an annoying teenager.
Yeah, cool skin though.
Yeah.
Customizable, like aesthetic skin. That's a weird statement otherwise. She has the terrible tornado, is that what it's called?
There's Donnie over here saying, yeah, she's got teenage voice lines, but she's got nice skins.
Yeah.
But she is the first character that was actually designed for Overwatch 2, because Sojourn and Junker Queen were actually designed for Overwatch 1. They just were never released until Overwatch 2. Kiriko is the first character they actually designed with Overwatch 2 in mind, because Overwatch 2 changed from 6v6 to 5v5. So they basically made her like with that in mind, that there would be one less tank to protect the healers and stuff. So she has a lot of escapes, and she has ways of preventing death from like a lot of ultimates and stuff like that. So she is a support healer. She made a deal with a Kitsune spirit to protect her neighborhood. That's what she does. How she's not really in, just like Junker Queen isn't either, or Sojourn was, but like how we were talking about Symmetra and Lifeweaver aren't really Overwatch, neither is Kiriko. Kiriko is dragged into this because of her pseudo brothers, basically, because Genji is in Overwatch and Hanzo is another third party. He's part of the Shimato crime family. But him and Genji like basically used to try to kill each other, and Hanzo almost succeeded in killing Genji, but Genji was saved by Mercy. But he's mostly cybernetic now, kind of like Sojourn, but I guess even more than Sojourn, because he's almost all robot, including his head and stuff. So, but she has the ability to. Her main attack is actually healing. She has like those little cards like you've seen on like Naruto and stuff.
Yeah,
like
the tags.
Konoichi.
Yeah. They're called Ofuda, healing Ofuda. So basically she throws out the little cards and heals people with them. They're somewhat seeking. Like if you have your cursor over people, it'll like seek them out even if they're moving. But if you like throw them when you're not, like don't have someone targeted, they kind of just fly around all over the place. And then her alternate fire is her kunai knives, so she throws knives at people, which does extra damage for headshots, even more than like it's increased critical damage for headshots for her. And she has an ability, her left shift ability is Swift Step, which allows her to teleport. So she can just instantly teleport to an ally that needs healing, or to get away from stuff. She can teleport to him, so it allows her to target an ally that's in a certain distance and teleport directly to them.
Yeah,
through walls and everything.
The range is actually pretty decent on that ability too.
Mm-hmm. Her E ability is called the Protection Suzu. She throws a protective charm on allies, and they become briefly invulnerable and cleansed of negative effects. So she can throw that down, and like if you're being frozen by May's ultimate, it'll unfreeze you. If you're about to be blown up by a Diva Bomb or Junkrat Tire, it'll prevent all the damage if she throws it at the right time. Stuff like that. It can also like remove
an anti-nade.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, it removes any kind of negative effect. Well, it says most, but I don't know what it doesn't. Like it'll remove sleep. It'll remove like stun and stuff. Like how Brigitte can stun people now, it would remove that. It does it removes most everything. I don't know what it is that it doesn't remove because it just says it removes most negative effects. So I don't know what it doesn't remove. But and then she has a wall climb like Hanzo, where if you jump up against the wall, she'll climb up it. And then her passive is to heal over time. And then as her ultimate, it's called Kitsune Rush, where she summons the spirit of the Kitsune in a straight line. And her and any allies that are within that area get super speed. Their attacks are increased super fast. They move faster, and all their cooldowns replenish faster.
It's like a giant haste buff.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it for her.
Okay. Next up on the chat. Well, before we move on, Donnie, you said you play her a little bit. What's your favorite ability? Like, what draws you to playing her?
The skin. Great, excellent skin. She must exfoliate.
It's completely for the one
honestly,
Punch Man skin.
I won't say it drew me to her, but one thing I do want to say about her is like she's an unsung class. Like she doesn't do the most healing, so it's gonna look like she's not the best healer, but her utility is probably one of the best. She can teleport to whoever needs it, and it's a short cooldown. Her immunity thing is a clutch thing for when somebody hits their ult.
Mm-hmm.
And none of that shows up as mitigation. Like I feel like there should be some kind of like that should count as mitigation or something. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Kiriko's a great one. But the person that plays Kiriko has to accept they're not going to top healing very often, if at all.
Yeah.
They just have a role to play, and they can do it well, and it can be the difference in a win for sure, in my opinion.
Yep.
I love Kiriko. I think Kiriko's fun. Not necessarily topping the healing boards.
No.
Well, there are a couple that do less healing than her.
Well, I don't mean bad.
Like Zenyatta and
I don't mean bad.
Lightweaver.
I just feel like the game changer stuff that Kiriko brings is not something that's going to show up statistically.
Yeah.
All right. Who's next on the chopping block for Overwatch 2 heroes?
All right. Next is, I think there's only one left.
Ramattra?
Yeah, Ramattra. So Ramattra is he's the leader of Null Sector, which is a third party. He's not Talon. He's not Overwatch. Null Sector is basically the Omnics that started the war a long time ago. So he's their leader. He's very angry. But him and Zenyatta are basically polar opposites. He basically wants to get revenge for all the deaths of the Omnics. Because what happened is the Omnics, it's basically, I don't know if you've ever played Mass Effect, but you know how the Geth basically turned against the Quarians?
Yeah.
Because like they got sentience and the Quarians tried to wipe them out. Basically the same exact thing happened. The Omnics gained sentience, and people freaked out and tried to eliminate them, and the Omnics fought back, and that's what caused the war.
So
Terminator.
Yeah, exactly. So life lesson here. We're dabbling, the world's getting further and further with AI. If you start making robots that can think for themselves and they gain sentience somehow,
we're going to mistreat them. It's going to be our fault.
We are. And we're going to have the same exact thing on our hands.
Yep. It's gonna be our fault too. I 100% feel that way.
Mm-hmm. I'm just hoping that if the robots have sentience, they'll be able to actually like somehow empathize as well.
They might empathize, but they're like, if I mean, what would any people that have ever been like held down do? You know?
Yeah, true. But I mean, like, I don't know, if robots gain sentience, I wouldn't mistreat them. I'd do my best not to.
I wouldn't either.
You know, and I hope that they see that.
But people in charge aren't like me and you, I don't believe.
True. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Ramatra's abilities. I really enjoyed Ramatra when he came out. I am sad that they nerfed his ult. I get why they did. But at the same time, I also feel like if you were fast enough, then he really wasn't that hard to, prevent him from having his ult forever. All you had to do is scatter, and that's what everybody does whenever anybody plays an ult, or you hear like, Junkrat's Riptire, everybody just kind of scatters.
Yeah, I mean, the major issues they had with it was Ramatra versus Ramatra, because they would just sit inside each other's ults and fight each other, and no one would attack.
Yeah.
But yeah, so his main fire is his staff, which is called the Void Accelerator.
Hell yeah.
So it throws a bunch of nanobots at people. So Ramatra is unique, whereas he has two forms because he's a tank. His normal form is more like a DPS. It has a little bit more health than a DPS, but it has no armor or anything. He mostly does damage. He can make a shield, but it's kind of like a...
Yeah, that's his Omnic form, right?
Yeah, his Omnic form is kind of like a DPS.
He might be a little too squishy in that form, wouldn't you think?
A little.
Because I feel like it's a free kill every time I see one in a normal form.
I do feel like Ramatra is a great tank if he has a pocket healer, a dedicated healer for him.
Yeah.
But you're hard pressed to ever really get that.
So in the Omnic form, your alternate fire is the Void Barrier, which throws up a shield. It is very short lasting, but it has 1,000 HP. It's basically for like throwing into a choke point so you can get past and protect really quickly if there's something that needs to be blocked. It's very short duration. It's not there for a long time compared to like Reinhardt Shield and whatnot that lasts forever in
King Sigma, you don't forget his name. Put some respect on it.
So then, and with his E button, he throws down a Ravenous Vortex, which is an area of effect on the ground that damages anyone inside of it, and it also pulls anyone that's flying out of the air to the ground immediately.
That thing has gotten me killed so much.
So that's what he does in his Omnic form. So then your shift ability changes you into your Nemesis form. You transform into a larger robot that has armor, has more health. It
has a block.
It's a murder machine. I think everybody.
So you go from
good reason.
You go from 300 HP to 525, and you have armor. And then you punch. He has punches instead of his. So he's shorter ranged in that form. But his punches go through shields and they hit multiple people. So it's kind of like a punch wave where it hits people behind other people.
Yeah, it's like a force punch almost.
Yeah. And then, yes, for that one, the alternate fire is block. So he crosses his arms and he can block damage that way. And then he can still use Ravenous Vortex. He can't use Void Barrier in that form, but he can still use Ravenous Vortex with E. And then his... so that form only lasts for a short time as well. And then he can use his ultimate, which is Annihilation, which he yells, agony is grape flavored. Not anymore. That was during during
the random
April
thing?
Fools. April Fools, he used to say agony is grape flavored because it turns purple when he uses it. Everything turns purple.
Jesus.
But what happens is he has like a swarm of nanobots that affects an area, and the longer people are in the area, the longer it lasts. Like it slows it down significantly while it's damaging people. Otherwise, it only lasts for 5 seconds, I think. But if people remain in it, it slows it down enough to last like more than double that amount of time. But it does damage, and he's in Nemesis form the entire time while it's going off, and it damages anyone within the area. It used to last indefinitely if people were in the area, like if you didn't leave and you were just fighting him, or if you, for whatever reason, were standing in it and being healed for a time, or or if people kept like staggering back one by one, it could last forever. It would never end.
I loved it because before they changed that, I remember playing as him, and we were doing like a payload map or a push map of some fashion, and we were getting closer to their end spawn. So every time they died, they'd respawn fast enough to run back out, and they just kept running back into my annihilation. So it was just constantly staying up, and I was just like pretty much standing at their door.
That's probably one of the reasons they changed it.
I know. Like I said, I get it. I do think that it should last a little bit longer than it does. But I get it.
Well, hold on. I'm about to test it. So.
Well, I mean.
So it lasts 4 seconds.
I'm guessing they assume you're just going to activate it with somebody already close enough to get hit. That's going to extend it, right?
It seems to be 22 seconds if people are still inside of it. So that's like more than quadruple the speed it would normally go away. But that's it for Ramatra, and I believe he's the last Overwatch 2 hero.
Yep.
Now, some heroes have been greatly reworked for Overwatch 2 from Overwatch 1. The biggest change is Doomfist, who used to be a DPS, is now a tank.
I like it. I like Doomfist now.
Changed some of his abilities, not a lot. He still does a lot, mostly the same things he did when he was a DPS, except they do less damage because tanks have to do less damage because they live for a lot longer. But he's got more health. He's got a block ability, and when he's using his block ability, it charges up his fist, unlike Ramatra, where it just blocks the damage. The more you shoot Doomfist while he's blocking, it charges up his next fist attack. They changed Orisa a lot. She no longer has the shield, and now she has like a spear that she throws through people. Her ultimate like pulls you in, and she slams the spear on the ground and does damage depending on how long she's been spinning it for. And she doesn't. That's her ultimate now. She doesn't have her bongo thing anymore. Diva's not that different. Reinhardt's not that different. Roadhog's not that different. Sigma's not that different. I don't think any of the rest of the tanks are very different from what they used to be. So they were all buffed slightly. I think they all have more health and stuff because they're the only tank now. There's only one tank. Ozaria can use her bubbles for either herself or other people now, so she could use both of them for other people, or she can use both of them for herself. That's the biggest difference with her. Oh, and Winston now has a lightning shot where he can shoot lightning as a charged alternate fire, like further. So he has kind of a ranged attack.
I did not know that.
I didn't either.
I thought his alternate fire was just a punch.
No.
Well, might play around with Monkey Boy for a little boy.
Yeah, he has that electric thing for his regular fire for close range, but now he has it's basically you can charge it. You know how you can charge Symmetra shots and then fire them?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing where you can charge it up and then let go of lightning blast at somebody.
Huh. When did that change happen?
At the start of Overwatch 2.
Oh. You know what I think it is because you know how punch is, I think, what is it, V?
Mm-hmm.
To punch? Well, I don't think Winston had an alternate in Overwatch, in regular Overwatch.
He didn't, no.
And so I think I key mapped my right mouse button to be the punch button. just so if I got in close, I could just punch people. So I think it kept my key mapping, and maybe that's why I've never noticed the lightning gun thing.
Maybe.
Huh. It's fucked up. All right. Well, I mean, we're right around the hour mark. Do you
let
have
me
any
just
other
go over
people?
quickly. Yeah, let me just go over the changes really quick. Ash is pretty much the same. Bastion is very different.
He
His
doesn't have
turret mode.
self-heal.
Yeah, he doesn't have self-heal. His turret mode only lasts for a short amount of time now. He can't stay in it,
But
but he can move around in it now. And then his ultimate is now he fires rockets in the air that come down. Yeah, mortar fire instead of his tank form. Cassidy no longer has his, and he's not McCree anymore. He's now Cole Cassidy. He doesn't have his flashbang anymore. He now has a sticky grenade, basically. Echo's pretty much the same, except that they cut the life of her when she transforms with her ultimate. She doesn't get the full life she used to. She gets like half of their life points than now instead of their full life. Genji's pretty much the same. Hanzo's pretty much the same. Junkrat's kind of the same. They nerfed him a little bit where his explosives, the mines that he tosses and then can blow up, they do less damage now, and in the area, like the closer they are, like you have to aim with those now to get a lot of damage out of those. Mei, they changed it so she doesn't freeze anybody except with her ultimate, so her regular fire just slows people down. It doesn't freeze them anymore. Fair's pretty much the same. Reaper's pretty much the same. Soldiers pretty much the same. Sombra, they changed a lot. She can hack people while she's invisible now, and she can hack everything while she's invisible. Now hacked targets only get hacked for half a second. So basically, you can use it as an interrupt, but they don't stay hacked like they used to. I mean, they stay hacked, but their abilities aren't closed off like they used to be. And now the hack just does extra damage when targets are hacked when she attacks them. Symmetra's pretty much the same. Torbjorn's pretty much the same. Tracer and Widowmaker are both pretty much the same. Anna and Bap are the same. They just redid Brigitte, where her ultimate is different because it used to just be. I mean, it's the same for other people. It didn't change. She still gives people. Well, they changed it so that it gave over health instead of armor because they felt the armor was too OP. So now it just gives over health instead of armor. But the over health still goes to other people. But now she gets an instant 100 armor when she activates it. And her shield grows super huge and she can stun people again because they took her stun away before. But only with the ultimate. She can't do it with her regular attacks. And her shield before, because like it used to stun, but now it doesn't. So her shield actually lets her go further, so she can use it as a movement ability. So her shield bash is actually a lot further, so she can use it to move around because it doesn't stun anymore. Lucio, I don't think there was any differences. Mercy. They made if you knew how to do the super jump before, they made it easier to do the super jump. But now they made it so that it like takes extra, like it adds on to the cooldown to regard an angel to use it now. So if you jump towards somebody and you just hit crouch to cancel, you'll jump up in the air still. But now it sets a longer cooldown before you can use Guardian Angel again if you do that. Moira is pretty much the same, except they made it so that she can fade now when she's using her ultimate. So if you are like using it and you get into trouble, you can fade, or if you want to fade after chase people, you can. And it has a kick now. He can kick you. He kicks people and like pushes them away from himself. That's the only change they made to him.
I mean, he's always technically had a kick. That was his punch ability.
I mean, I don't know if he kicked instead of punched, but now it didn't have knockback before.
I don't think it had knockback, but yeah, he always kicked. I do remember that from him. Little floating bastard.
So that's it. That's pretty much all the changes. Other than there being new maps, they put a bunch of new all the maps were reworked. They all have more cover now to make up for the fact that there's only one tank instead of two.
I don't like the fact that there's only one tank. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I like the better one over two.
Puts a lot of pressure on being tank.
That's why I don't like playing tank anymore. I only play it if I know everybody on the team. Like, if there's all a 5 stack of us, I'll do it just because of like, well, they won't get mad at me if I'm terrible. And I was terrible.
Meh.
I played Reinhardt, and we got rolled basically that time. And then B switched to being tank.
So, Donnie, what's your favorite map? Like, do you like the new maps that they put in for Overwatch 2, where you have to like?
I don't like the player-made one.
No, I don't either. Fuck that map.
I don't really mind any of the maps, to be honest. Certain ones I feel like are harder to play with certain characters.
Yeah.
Like anything like with where the goal has a roof is hard for a Pharah, for example.
Right.
But no, I mean for the most part they seem to have advantages fairly split up.
All right. I will say I like point capture and even to an extent some of the old school payload maps and stuff. I'm less inclined to really like the robot one, like having to push the robot back.
Oh, I thought you meant map. You meant like game type.
Well, I mean the game type kind of is determined by the map, right?
Yeah.
You know, so
right.
Like Shambali, not Shambali Monastery. That's a payload map, but the Canada map there.
Yeah.
That's a robot one. I feel like sometimes I feel like they just take forever, but I don't know. I guess it's really no different than the payload map. So, but do you have anything else that you'd like to add, Donnie, about Overwatch 2?
Nope.
You like it better than Overwatch 1?
So far.
All right.
I probably would have liked Overwatch 1 if I got more into it, but
I don't know. You got into it a few times, and then you uninstalled it a few times.
Yeah. I'm better now. I don't know why. Whatever changes they made seem to have suited me well.
And it's just one of those things where it just kind of clicks. One day you wake up and you realize, hey, I'm not as bad as I think I am at this.
Yeah.
We are our own worst critics. So, all right. Well, we're at the hour mark, so I think we're gonna wrap it up there. Rob, do we have a science corner? The moon is not made of cheese.
Have you ever been there? How do you know?
You're right. I don't.
Have you eaten the moon?
I have not. I guess it could be. I was just trying to throw out a science fact.
No, you are correct. The moon is not made of cheese. I was trying to think of what, and I realized that no, that's not a real one. That was on a show I was watching.
Well,
trying to think of anything that I read this week.
the cure for vampirism is to expose yourself to sunlight until you're just about to fall into a pile of ash and then put yourself out because you'll be on fire. And then you just won't be a vampire anymore, apparently. I hated that movie with a passion.
Yeah, in theory I wanted to like it, but yeah.
It was an alright movie until they had that. And then I was like, oh, that's the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard.
That would have already happened just by pure happenstance by that point.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do we have life advice? Donnie, do you have any life advice for our listeners out there since Devin's not here?
Don't pee into the wind.
That is honestly very good life advice. And, And if you do, don't open your mouth. What?
I remembered one that I thought was interesting because it had like implications for like D&D and stuff.
Oh boy. Okay.
Well, they're so it's vegan, by the way, vegan.
Oh, hashtag vegan teacher.
Yep. Vegan leather made from fungus, which is they made it so that it's like strong and durable as regular leather, but
Bullshit.
with certain like stimuli. If your leather jacket made of fungus is ever damaged, you can like stimulate it to regrow and sew itself back together.
It's a living material.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So this is going to spur a whole big another conversation for another time. But first off, I'd like to see this mushroom jacket because there's no way in hell I, as of right now, believe that it's as durable and strong as leather.
Now they say it is.
Well, okay. How do you stimulate it? Like electricity, or is it like brown mold? You need heat. It'll just spread.
After punching holes in the leather, the researchers doused the area in the same broth used to grow it to revive the chlamydospores.
Chlamydia?
The mycelium. Huh? I said chlamydia.
You're wearing chlamydia now?
I said chlamydia by accident because that's what it is.
All right, everybody, line up and get your chlamydia coats.
The mycelium eventually regrew over the punctures. Once healed, the whole patched areas were just as strong as the undamaged area. However, the repairs were visible from one side of the leather.
Your mitochondria is reacting. For you parasite fans.
Huh. All right, I'm gonna have to look into this. I don't necessarily know that I trust fungus wear.
Is it the good kind of fungus? Can I like take a bite of it and then it grow itself back and maybe high as fuck?
Probably not.
Oh.
I would laugh if it was though, because that
you'd be wearing it on your skin at that point.
Because that fungus grows underneath cow shit, where you get real leather from.
I like how you spun this yarn.
Yeah, everything's a pattern.
You're not allowed to say that.
All right, Rob, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Confessor_X and on Twitch at twitch.tv/ConfessorX.
And Donnie, where can people find you?
That Jack's Wordswalker. I didn't mean to do that. I don't have another one.
All right. Thank you guys for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. If also Overwatch 2 is free. So
unlike Overwatch 1, which you had to pay for.
Yeah, which still kind of sucks that we had to pay for it, and then now they made it free to everybody. Anyway, if any of this sounded interesting, or if you like that type of game, go give it a shot. But thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, you guys follow me on Twitter at JaxForceWalker, all one word, on Twitch at DMWebby, and on eBay at making moon cheese with Devin using fungus coats. Yeah, that's right.
Quick, Donnie, give out your OnlyFans.
Shush.
I think he was hoping that you'd actually give it out so he could write it down.
What?
Huh?
Of course. Why wouldn't he?
Silly.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening.
My nose for 3 hours.
We love you, and as always, fuck Booster Gold.
Fuck Booster Gold.
Ba-da-ba.